I'm going to go ahead and kick it off here. Thank you, everybody, for joining our webinar today. You can see I'm joined by a couple of gentlemen that I've grown very fond of, and we're going to talk about Pilgrim's Playbook, driving some sales growth within the Pepper universe, a couple of our programs. For those of you that I don't know, my name is Jason Gunn, your friendly neighborhood marketing guy from Pepper. Spent a lifetime in food service. Maybe you've seen me host some other webinars in a previous life with Atrobytes and Syndigo, and maybe even one of the big three before that. But it's not about me today. First, I want to introduce our guest of honor, Mr. John Krezanosky. I believe your friends refer to you as Krez, and I think if we're on this webinar today, we might consider everyone here friends. Is that fair?
There you go. There you go. Good afternoon, everybody. John Krezanosky. I'm with Pilgrim's Food Service, Senior Director of Corporate Accounts over at Pilgrim's, and excited to be here. Excited to talk about Pepper and a lot of the fun things that we've embarked with this company here. So looking forward to the next few minutes and going over that with everybody.
Awesome. And many of you probably know that gentleman there calling in from New York City, Mr. Andrew Van Bark. Maybe not the first employee, but definitely the number one employee at Pepper. I think we'll let him have that title. Tell us about what you're up to.
I think number 3 is where I sit on the Pepper
on the stack rank
there. Yep.
Well, you'll be number one in my heart for always.
Yeah, thanks. Andrew Van Bark, for those of you that I haven't met, been with Pepper since the very beginning. We've been around for about 6 years now. And I ran the distributor partnerships team for the first 4 years. So growing from our first distributor all the way until about 250 maybe. And we're sitting a little over 400 today. And for the last 2 years, I've run this team called Supplier Growth Services. So leveraging the platform that all the distributors that we have kind of transacting with their operators, and how to best incorporate the manufacturing community to sell products now through this great platform we built.
Yeah. And what a journey over the last 10 years, as distributors, especially the independents, get more sophisticated and Pepper's helped them get into the e-commerce experience. I think the journey into what we'll call the digital advertising program has been developing over the last few years. Krez was an early adopter, and we want to hear about his story for sure. But AVB, I'd be curious to hear, a couple of beats about the program itself, and then get into the love story here. How did Pilgrims come into the fold?
Well, to kind of go all the way back, if anybody is unfamiliar with Pepper out there, what we do for the distribution community is we provide these white label e-commerce experiences. And so anybody from an A Syndico or a Cole Wholesale has their own branded app that we provide the technology for, and they give that app to all of their operators to place their orders through. And we've also now built a bunch of stuff for the DSRs as well, so that we're kind of their primary technology modality out there on the road. And if you can imagine, as we got more and more distributors onto the platform, this now provides a great medium between the operator and the distributor to shop for products. And so it was very natural for us to partner with Pilgrims and others to surface their products front and center within the app. And we've got a couple of different ways to do that. But Pilgrims was one of the first suppliers that we talked to 2.5 years ago. And they kind of jumped in, one of the first to not only partner on what we were doing in the advertising space back then, but really partnering with us from a thought leadership perspective on where we want this to go to drive the most amount of cases possible within this community of independent distributors.
Yeah. Tell us just a little bit more. There's the display ads, the search prioritization, and the sample requests. If you think about a traditional B2C environment, or even some programs that were offered up early on in some of the larger food distributors, display ads, get it. I'm going to have a banner. I'm going to see a thing. Search prioritization. I'm sure John's paying a little bit extra to have chicken show up first in search results. That makes sense to me. Sample requests, a little bit newer. Can you take us through these real quick?
Yeah. So I think, inherent to the operator ordering experience, we want operators to be able to go in and place their orders in 2 minutes or less from their distributor. They don't have time to mess around. And so we want to be like very selective in the places that we're showing Pilgrim's products. And so the first one is that display ad. This shows up at the top of the order guide when they log into the app. And the beautiful thing, we built this so it's only showing the products that particular distributor has stocked. Or if they are participating in one of our partnerships with the redistributors, you can even have the out of inventory items sitting in there. But it gives a great, the middle graphic there. That's the first thing they're seeing in the app, a great representation of the Pilgrim's products, and they can scroll through the carousel and select those. On search, like you said, they're typing in chicken, and chicken, the preferred Pilgrim's product is showing up there up top. And that actually is our highest ROI module here, people coming in and finding the product for the first time. And then sampling has been a really interesting journey over the last 2.5 years. It's great to be able to, go in and actually test these products before they buy it. So they have the option to request a sample, and then we have a whole qualification process that happens behind the scenes. They're going to answer some questions about their expected volume, what they're going to do with the item on their menu. And that gives me and Krez good baseline information to follow up on that sample after the fact. And when they do request a sample, communication goes to Krez, communication goes to the broker community, whoever needs to be involved there. And the sample actually gets either fulfilled by the distributor or by Pilgrim's kind of preferred sample fulfillment process.
So you mean as a sales rep, I can't call my buddy Krez anymore, get a case of chicken and give out a few and then have the rest for my barbecue this weekend?
It's not quite anymore. Not quite anymore these days.
Krez, you had to have been quite forward thinking in this. You get introduced to a company named Pepper that doesn't sell peppers. We're doing e-commerce, and these search and display ad programs, I think, had been around for a little while with mixed reception from the supplier community. But you really believed in this, and I'd like to think the network of independence helps change the conversation a little bit. But give me your version of this early introduction to the program and what that conversation was like internally as you're asking to do something relatively new, especially 2.5 years ago.
Yeah. So as Andrew mentioned, we came in contact, or I came in contact with Pepper right at about 2.5 years ago through the Frosty Acres group as we were initially met up over there. And for me, it was really kind of an aha moment when I started to go through some of the information that they were providing to us. And really a lot of that aha was revolved around how they could be very precise in what they were doing and very specific to the operator and distributor that they were working with. And when I look at our counterparts on the retail side of the business, they've had a lot of this technology there for quite a few years, and they've been able to utilize a lot of that information. And we on the food service side have kind of lagged behind that a little bit. And so this was really the first time that I saw a program such as this that really started to tie all the different areas together and take the information and the data that they've got in working with the independent distributor community and allow us to work with that customer and that distributor to turn it into more of an actionable type process, right? Ad campaigns are fantastic. They keep you visible in front of the customer, depending on what the season is or the product is and everything. Search prioritizations are wonderful. We love that right there. It keeps us at the tops of the list and all that. Samples are a great one, but really it's taking all of that together and really turning that into actionable initiatives that we can in turn embark on with that independent distributor in the marketplace. That's what really kind of was my aha moment with these guys. And then taking that internally was a lot of the next steps, right?
Yeah. Any quick lesson learned on this side of it, in terms of adopting these programs and some of the things that you needed to know in order to make it successful? We've got some metrics here of the case study, but I'd be curious to get your color commentary around that.
Yeah, so I was really kind of lucky within Pilgrims. We've got a fantastic retail marketing group that is very entrenched in what they do and does a very good job of it. And so, when I was bringing a lot of this information back in from what I was hearing from Andrew and his team on the Pepper side of it, it resonated very clearly to them on what I was talking about. They understood it very quickly. And so they were able to really move in a much faster manner than I really even expected on my end. I think, Andrew, if I'm not mistaken, after we ran the first couple real iterations through some of the independent distributors at Frosty Acres, after the second or third one, we really kind of started to move at a much faster pace internally in adopting a lot of these practices that you're seeing right here that we just spoke about. So it didn't take a lot of selling. I'd love to say that it did, and I did a fantastic job. But I've got a great team that works with me, and they picked up on this very quickly and saw the advantages of what they were bringing to the market.
Well, and I think there's retail elements to what we're looking at here. Like a return on ad spend is a fairly new term in food service, right? Because these programs just weren't widely available. Maybe Andrew, give us a couple of beats from your perspective, educating the supplier community and helping them understand, like, hey, these are real things that you can expect from us in food service, even though you've never seen them before.
Yeah, I think starting from the very beginning, we were almost fortunate in that because we started with a subset of distributors within Frosty Acres with the Pilgrims guys, and then we're able to clearly show return on advertising spend and real case sales, real growth. And then it was easy to expand into the Unipro community and beyond in the independents. And I think Pilgrims also did have a great advantage in that they were already leveraging these advertising programs in retail. And so they were very familiar with all of the metrics in terms of attributed buyers and lifetime value and churn and all the things that we have kind of live in our dashboard, but sometimes take a little bit of education for other food service distributors. But since they were so kind of in tune with that, seeing it now on the food service side made it kind of easy for them to see that there is significant value here. And it's been great working with their team over the years in the efficiency realm too. Because, showing an ad to everybody within Pepper, you quickly realize that there are particular operator sets that are not going to convert on a given ad or a given product. And so we're able to look at that data and quickly kind of zone in on the segments and target the segments, the operator segments within the greater Pepper platform for those that are most likely to convert and keep buying after they place that original order. So not only have we been able to really expand across our whole portfolio of distributors, but we've also been able to get it a lot more efficient in terms of spend and conversion over the years.
Yeah, a new term for the uninitiated, their ICP operators, targeted ideal customer profile. Krez, I imagine as a manufacturer, you don't necessarily want to take that shotgun approach. To Andrew's point, not everybody's going to be buying chicken. And we're going to start to spill into the next version of this program here with what we call Profit IQ. But, I think one of the differentiators, with the Pepper program, again, having a huge independent network that can help scale the effort from the manufacturer, but then also being able to action this on the street. So how are you working with this data today, Krez? And, what does that ideal customer look like for you? What kind of information are you expecting?
So the data that's actually being, provided that we're working, kind of hand in hand with the independent distributor is really something we've never really seen before in the past either. And so it's been a little bit of a learning process as well for us as we go down this road. But I have to say it's been a fantastic way to really do some quick learnings because in the past it was much more of a, as you mentioned, Jason, a shotgun approach in a lot of aspects when we would go to market, whether it's rolling out a new item or working with a specific distributor, we would really kind of be going into that type of an initiative. I don't want to say blind, but just casting a large net and maybe not using all of our resources as well as they possibly could be. And the information, through Pepper that was being provided really allowed everybody, the distributor, the DSR, our salespeople, the broker community, all those involved, really allowed that all to be honed down to taking out the noise and focusing in on those specific distributors or those specific, I'm sorry, operators within your category, within a certain product type groupings that we want to be honing in on and determining really who we need to be talking to, right? So it saved so much time and effort and resources to really get to that customer that we really need to be in front of to bring more market share to that independent distributor that we're working with. And that's huge for us, in saving that time right there and targeting those specific customers.
Well, I mean, keep me honest here, but if you're trying to grow SKUs and capture a new slot, you've got this burden of moving those products. And again, in yesteryear's environment, maybe you got some data from a distributor, maybe you didn't. Maybe brokers can report back on some of this stuff, but this is unique in that Pepper has access to help see where the products are being sold by distributor sales rep. They can do things to activate the sales rep. I just feel like it's a little bit different. And you guys are probably seeing where, oh, not only can we take command of this category, but we can help them grow, if not maybe outpace themselves in growth in that category.
Yeah, no doubt. So the information is one segment or one piece of the whole puzzle. Then when you add in what we can do to help per se grease the wheel with the operator and grease the wheel with that merchandising team and grease the wheel with the executive team. Once you get all that kind of working in conjunction with each other, it is a fantastic go-to-market strategy to where everybody's moving in the same direction and there's incentives involved and the initiatives are getting accomplished. It's a fantastic process and it all goes back to really, like I said, taking that information and that data that the Pepper team is able to sift through and utilize to get over to everybody, taking that and turning it into actual results and actionable initiatives. It's an exciting thing to work with.
Yeah. AVB, kind of tell us about some of these metrics and how we get there. I think this really speaks to almost that flywheel effect of how we think about going to market with our supplier partners. Can you explain what we're looking at here in terms of some of the results? And also, this seems like a typical play that we would run with a manufacturer.
Yeah, this here is the playbook that we're basically copy pasting with all of the distributors within the Pepper network. And I think thinking about this DSR activation, another term that we use is called Profit IQ, and marrying that to the slides that we were showing before on the direct to operator, influencing them at the purchase point of purchase kind of ads. It's all about kind of forging these new digital relationships between Pepper almost as the mediator, but definitely between Pilgrims and the distributor. And so you get some ads activity going. They're excited about that. Now we can have a really purposeful conversation about bringing in new items and further investing in the brand. And then we need to move those cases that we just placed to what you mentioned earlier, Jason. And that's where we're tying in the DSR through this process here. So I'd say the biggest thing that's changed just in the last 2 years in the independent community is that they are now more willing to share their operator level information than they ever have been. We used to call it the dirty D word, the data word. We wouldn't even mention it. But now the distributors are seeing the value in sharing that information because they see on the other end the results that they get from growth on the back end. And so we like to refer to this flywheel, where we want to identify the opportunities, we want to execute on them, and then we want to analyze them real time to be able to go back and run the flywheel again. So let's break down this process here. First, we are looking at all of the distributors within the Pepper network, and we are looking at where the biggest opportunities lie in terms of where Pilgrims will sell the most, and we're prioritizing all this. Then we zone in on individual distributors, and we complete this analysis that you see here on the left. So we're looking at, okay, how many operators are they selling to? How many of them are buying the category? How many of them are buying Pilgrims? And then that gives us an idea of how many targets are out there. So we've got 640 targets at this particular distributor. 345 of those are what we call white space opportunities. They're actually not buying the category today, but our model tells us that they have a high propensity to do so. And that's really just based on, here's all the people that are buying Pilgrim's products across the whole Pepper network, and here's what they look like. Now, here's the operators within this distributor that also look like that, so we should be approaching them. Then we're also looking at conversion opportunities. Where can we actually just switch cases over to Pilgrims? And we're reinforcing that by looking at the menu data of all of these operators and seeing who has chicken on their menu, but they're not ordering it from this distributor or from Pilgrims today. That gives us a great playbook to score the opportunities for each of the operators. And then we give that prioritized list to the DSRs. So again, if there's 640 targets here, we're breaking that up, and each DSR may only have 30, 40 high value targets. We're giving those to them. We're ranking them. We're assigning a score from 0 to 100 on how much volume we're going to get. And then once the DSRs have that prioritized list in their hands, Krez and I actually go to the DSR meetings, get them really hyped up around, look, we're showing you where to hunt now. You have the answers to the test. So now let's put a nice spiff in place for the next 60 days, go sell like hell. And we're going to reinforce that by sending them text messages every Friday. Here's how you're doing on this particular campaign. Here's how many cases you've sold. Here where you stack up on the leaderboard. And we're kind of always pushing them week after week after week to stay engaged and motivated. And I think the best part for the DSRs at the end of the day is we are actually dropping the full spiff amount in their bank account within 5 days of the program close. And so they get excited about the program. They see the benefits. They are kind of converting on the program throughout, and then they get the money at the end. They're almost hungry for us to engage in the next program for them. And the DSRs, they're making a lot of money for this because we are moving a lot of cases within a short amount of time.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so much different than what my experience was as a DSR because, we were told to sell a thing. We might get some broker support. We might even see a vice president here or there show up and show it to us at a district sales meeting. But, that 30-day program, Krez, is largely what it ends up being, right? You've got all the support on the planet, and then they kind of move on to their next thing. And even in other iterations of data sharing with other distributors, maybe you get some data to go support it on the street, but going straight to the DSR and keeping it top of mind like this to where it's real, I get paid in a reasonable amount of time, and I understand that it came from you. I mean, what has that been like, and what are some things you've learned along the way?
Well, like we said, it's the speed to market right there. It's the speed from getting the opportunity all the way to close has been condensed and compressed down, thanks to what Pepper's been able to bring to the table in helping both the independent distributor and the supplier work together on this. I think, for our organization, look, for a long time we have been looking for a way to engage with that independent distributor community on a lot of what Andrew and Pepper have been talking about right here. But because of the fact that everything has been so fragmented on out for so long, it's been very difficult to do anything like this, right? There's really been no real platform for us to be able to put together these different initiatives, be it digital ad space, be it the search prioritization, be it the profit IQs. And what Pepper's done is been able to kind of rein all of that in and get everybody on somewhat the same platform to where, a supplier like a Pilgrims can go in and say, hey, look, this is how we're going to promote across the board, and here's how we're going to target with this product category segment, and here's what we're going to target over here for this time of the year, whatever it might be. But it allows us to do that much more seamlessly than we've ever been able to do before. It wasn't even something that was even on the table for us to be able to accomplish with the independent distributor community, to be able to work shoulder to shoulder and growing their market sales like this. So it's been very exciting seeing that kind of evolve over the past year to what it is right now. And, there's some great things that Andrew's got up his sleeve that he's probably not going to share here today. But I can tell you it's some exciting stuff on what's right around the corner with these guys.
It's good to
Curious, let me
hear.
ask you a follow-up question to that, Krez. You might just describing a little bit about what you've had to do, you and your field sales team has had to do to support this activity out there in the field.
Yeah, so we've really had to take a step back because, you got to understand that that data and that information and that engagement, it's never quite been there before. We've always talked about it, right? But it's never been something that we've been able to really, act upon. And so it's really forced us to kind of take a step back, Andrew, and as you know, really kind of write a whole new set of SOPs for our field sales team to really kind of take a look at and say, okay, what do we need to do first? What do we need to do second? How do we engage here? What needs to be done here in order for this, and this to happen? But it's really in a good way forced us to kind of step back and evaluate how we go to market with that independent distributor based on that information, that data that's out there. It's not like, hey, here's some great new information and it's all done. No, there's a lot of work involved and there's a lot of steps involved to get from beginning to actual growth. And it's forced us to take a look at that. And I think we've become much better for that as an organization, right? It's really helped our field sales team, as well as our broker community work much closer on these opportunities because they can be much more precise and specific on how they're going to go to market. So, it's forced us to get a lot better, man.
I think about all of the career journey I've had where sharing data back with the manufacturing community was just scary, right? We're not going to do that. Then you kind of had some early adopters of this and it was limited. And then it was like, cool, here's all this data. And, I imagine the reaction from the supplier community is like, well, God, I don't even have the resources, to do that. So we've kind of moved from like, hey, let's protect ourselves by holding data back. Then we kind of went the other way and said, okay, here's all the data. It feels like the burden's on you now as a manufacturer to figure out how do I run faster, better, stronger, and more efficiently out in the field, knowing that there's more information available and there's a largely digital selling process now, right?
You're right to a point there, Jason. But what I would come back with is, there's a lot of data and a lot of information, but I think the Pepper team's done a very good job of organizing that information and data. And
Sure.
and on top of that, you know, every time we're initiating a Profit IQ type of a promotion with an independent distributor, we make sure before we go into it that everybody understand what's about to take place and has full buy-in on what we're about to do. And I can't say enough how important that is because if you've worked at a distributor before, that those directions resonate a whole lot more clearly when they come down from the top all the way down, right? And so we're working more hand in hand with that distributor team than we probably ever have before in the past. I
Mhm.
know a lot of times when we've been given that data in the past, Jason, it's pretty much been, hey, here's the information, Mr. Supplier, knock yourself out, right?
Right.
And it's very difficult to execute on that. But in this situation here, we're going this, arm in arm together with that distributor, with that broker, with that supplier, and everybody's got a stake in the game and understands what their role is, right? So the DSR understands that they've got these customers that have been given to them that they call on, and there's certain spiffs involved that they can make. The merchandiser has the ability to grow their business, and that looks good for them to the executive team. And we as suppliers have a great way to go out and work closely with them to grow the market share and grow our brands that we have out there. So it's an exciting process right here, and it's one that we really haven't been able to capitalize on in the past because no tool like this has been available to us that's been this easy to use and actionable. Like I keep saying all along, but it's true.
As the funniest quote that sticks in my head is when we first started talking about this, and I was like, okay, cool, here's the data, and you told me I need another data provider like I need a hole in the head.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, cool. We got to actually figure out how to execute on all this.
Well, it kind of, warms my heart in a sense because, you've been able to figure out how to bring it all in and make it actionable. And you've got your fingerprints on the program that we've built here, and it's coming from suppliers that actually want to go out and win in the field. So, Andrew, tell me a little bit about what we're looking at here and how this is important to the Profit IQ conversation, not just on the sales side, but to Cress's point, staying squarely aligned with the distributors on what's important to them and being able to work off of that same sheet of music. Because what I heard Cress describe earlier was, cool, we had data before, but I suspect that ended in you bringing your spreadsheet. The distributor brought their spreadsheet. We argued about that spreadsheet, and then we had to have another meeting about it. Now we're all kind of working off of the same sheet of music. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the cool thing about, like, if we're looking particularly at these results, so we've got 4 distributors. We launched all of them within the last 90 days. And we have been able to really just set up the process between Krez and I, where we introduce this to the distributor and we have stocking conversations. We make sure the right products are brought in, and we go and do that hype meeting with the DSR team. But then largely we kind of step back and just let them go execute. And we pull up dashboard every week and just we're kind of saying to each other, like, are we happy with these results? Anything else we need to do to kind of support? And the DSRs will raise their hand and say, hey, I want to ride along with someone in market to help close this customer. But these results here, we're really just watching them tick up week by week by week. And so we're seeing new buyers, people that have never been engaged with the Pilgrims brand before. We're seeing expansion opportunities. Maybe they were ordering 1 or 2 items and now they're ordering more. But I think most importantly, it's like, all right, we're seeing consistently a 20% growth year over year just within the first 90 days. So we're pretty ecstatic about these early results here.
Mm-hmm. Well, as we come to a close, I'll invite the audience at home to send us some questions if you have any. We've kind of gotten through most of what we wanted to talk about today. But to Andrew's point, Krez, I mean, I'm staring at a 21.3% increase year over year. Not that that's guaranteed by any means, but I mean, what other levers do you have to pull in your marketing and go-to-market programs to see something like that with independent distributors?
Oh, we'd have to pull quite a few. So we're excited about the initial growth out of the gate. And as I've told to Andrew, I think this is just the beginning. Because I kind of really have an idea of, the short play here has been great, but the long-term growth is really what we're looking for in those repeat buyers. And I think we've got some great ideas in working with the Pepper team on how we can execute on that. So we're really excited as we go into 2026 in building more initiatives around the Profit IQ program and expanding upon that, right? So the good thing about this is it's not a one and done type process. It's one you can build upon month over month, quarter over quarter, year over year, and you can set it up and pivot however you need to. So if there's a specific category or product grouping that we want to focus in on, look, it makes it very easy to work with the Pepper team to give the initiatives and build them around those groups of items for that time of the year to go out and make it happen. So the flexibility with what they have to offer also is an exciting format. So lots of positives with this. We're excited to see where it's going to take us. And like I said, can't say enough good things about what Pepper's done for us to this point in time.
Awesome. As we wind things down, any other learnings around this? I know you're in a position with all of your customers where, marketing opportunities, advertising opportunities, growth initiative opportunities. This seems like investing in programs like this over the last couple of years is a deliberate part of your budgeting process. And I only say that as
Yes.
we approach what is probably the budgeting season for a number of folks out in the audience. So, you know, uh, how do you think about that relative to how you're making space for
You know,
growth
it,
marketing?
it it really forces us to kind of step back, Jason, and take a good hard look at, what truly is bringing in the ROI at the end of the day. And what we've seen here is a great success story out of the gate. And because of that, it's forced us to take a look at a few things, maybe make some modifications here and there, because moving forward, we only see what we're doing here with Pepper and Profit IQ to continue to grow. And so, we are budgeting more towards that because those are hard sales. Those are sales that we actually see on a daily and weekly basis that we didn't have before. So we're picking up market share. We're growing in a category and a segment of business that really we haven't grown at this rate before. And I'm talking about that independent distributor. And we want to continue to support those distributors out there because they support us as well as our brand, and that's important. And so, from a budgeting standpoint, we're clearly earmarking those dollars to be able to put it behind these efforts right here and grow the business, no doubt.
And
Awesome.
add a flavor to that, Jason. I think Pilgrims has been great in, we want to know, we want to do these programs and we know the growth is there, but we know that we kind of help together decide, okay, this is appropriate to allocate more towards a traditional like marketing line item. This is more appropriate to kind of put towards a more sales related endeavor. And through that, we can kind of find the line items that exist within Pilgrims already to kind of attach this stuff to.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, that's it for slides. I have a couple of questions here, and the couple of them are pertinent to the ads program. So I wanted to ask the first one here. Can you speak to the frequency on how the ads ran and the lag time, air quotes, to what you see in conversion? In this particular program, it looks like it ran for about a year. What's the frequency and, kind of how do I see this net out typically?
Frequency is we're running a new campaign every quarter,
Okay.
and we're continuously looking at, we're actually aligning a lot more and more to Pilgrim's standard marketing calendar. What are the products that they're trying to push quarter on quarter? And we'll see, we're tracking those results. So we'll track them obviously throughout the campaign, but we continue tracking those results forever, basically. And that gives us a good idea of what the long-term churn and what the long-term LTV, how valuable are these attributed buyers that we're bringing in over the long run.
LTV for the uninitiative, lifetime
Lifetime
value.
value.
Got it. Okay, awesome. So that was for anonymous attendee. Sorry I didn't get to catch your name there, but hopefully that answers your question. The next one related to ads. Can you speak to the share of voice on the display ad and how the paid model is evolving to cost per click? What are the benefits to me as a manufacturer? So I think there's kind of two questions in there. Number one, what is share of voice in the display ad, and how does that model evolve for pay-per-click?
Yeah, so right now the display ads work basically every new session they will see a new ad for that. So if that particular distributor is stocking a handful of suppliers that we're working with, every time it comes up, they'll see a different one. And yeah, we have a complete cost per click model, both on display ads and search. And so we're only obviously charging for any activity that is coming from a high intent buyer. And you'll even see that system get a little smarter in Q1, which we're excited to talk more about soon.
I like it. Teasing a bit about the future. Okay, this is from Lindsay. For suppliers who are not distributed through Pepper customers through a distributor on Pepper? Is this platform a means of advertising for a supplier as brand awareness? I guess if I was to ask this another way, Lindsay, like, hey, if I'm not doing business with a distributor, can Pepper help me get some brand awareness? I think is the spirit of the question. I don't know if we can, Andrew, but what are your thoughts on that?
I would say that is, as we continue to deepen the relationships with the redistributors, that becomes more and more of an option. Obviously, we really only want to be showing ads for products that the distributor or the operator can actually purchase. But I know that it's very difficult to get new slots in with distributors, especially on a net new product. And so we are partnering with the redistributors to show items that are actually not in inventory. So if you are stocked at Dot or GNC or Honor Foods or anybody else, we can still display your items in an ad, and it will just be available basically on a longer lead time. So instead of just coming next day because they have it in stock, it might come a couple days later.
Got it. And I think kind of to your point here, Lindsay, if the independent distribution community isn't part of like your macro growth strategy here, then it may not make that much sense. But if you're doing business with any of the independents and you feel like you don't have visibility, you're selling through a lot of redistribution or something like that, I think it's worth having some of that information. I mean, Andrew, we work with manufacturers of all makes and models, sizes,
Totally.
looking to grow. Can you kind of speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, the whole spectrum. So we work with folks like Pilgrims who have stocking in the majority of our distributors, and we work with folks that have stocking in 3 or 4 distributors. And again, through that redistribution model where you can show items even that they don't have in stock, that actually provides a great proof point, because then they order the items through the ads, and it creates a great stocking conversation back with the distributor to say, you see, there is demand for these items.
Totally. Maybe I'm going off into the wild a little bit here, Andrew, but I remember hearing stories where some manufacturer, not necessarily Pilgrims, didn't have their items stocked across our entire distribution network. What we do is we go and solicit participation from the distributors for any program that we have out there, right? So it could be a distributor that's not necessarily stocking it. In a sense, we can help introduce the concept of new items. I think we've gotten new items placed for some of our distributor partners in that way.
Yeah, we certainly have.
Okay. Well, I've got no further questions, Your Honors, from out here in the field, but we still have plenty of time if folks want to send them in. John Krezanosky, my friend, is there any other closing comments or takeaways, learnings that you want our friends at home to have?
Nothing that I can think of, Jason. I just want to, thank you for the time and the opportunity to come on board here. Andrew and his team have been gracious enough also to let me join you, and I'm just excited to talk about, the work that we've been able to do with him and his organization. Like I said, they got a lot of smart people within those 4 walls over there with Pepper, and they've got a wonderful product. And we're excited about what's coming up. So appreciate the time, guys.
Yeah, man. Thanks for all the love. Andrew Van Bart, closing thoughts for our friends out in Zoom land before they race off into their weekend?
We're going to have obviously big teams over at the IFMA conference coming up and the Unipro conference. So love to, I'll be at both, make the cross-country journey to both. So look for me. I'd love to chat more about it.
Awesome. I will also be there with these 2 gentlemen out in Nashville. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to high-fiving a lot of my friends in the manufacturing community out there. And John, sincerely, thank you. I know you're on the road this week, and it takes more than a smile to get an hour from you. So we're glad you got to spend it with us.
Thank you, folks.
All right, that's it. Everybody go back and hopefully sell something, or at least enjoy the 14 minutes of time we've given back to you. Gentlemen, thank you. Always a pleasure. See you in a couple weeks.